Hello friends, this is chetanvmehta from Skill Cubator, and in today's topic we'll see the version control. It's a very important topic whether you are a business analyst, project manager, a developer, tester, or any other role you're playing on a team. You need to know what exactly is version control, how to use it. So let's get started. So the agenda is to um, give you a brief explanation or a high-level overview of what exactly is a version control. We'll see the benefits of version control. Then we'll talk about the check-in and check-out process. We'll take an example and then we'll discuss some of the version controlling tools which are used in the industry. So in a very basic sense, the version control is a mechanism used in the software industry wherein each artifact, whether it's a document, piece of code, is stored in a repository and the versions are maintained, managed, and controlled as part of this version controlling process. So when I say an artifact can be a project document like a project management artifact, project plan, project charter, project scope statement. It can be a requirements document like FRD, BRD, RTM, a use case, even a process model, or it can be a design artifact like system design document, or it can be a testing artifact, right? Test plan, test cases, test scripts. Even a source code is an artifact, right? So all of these are an artifacts which can be stored, managed, and controlled within this environment. So as you can see here, we have different roles here. We have the project manager, business analyst, developer, tester, and there can be many other roles um, on a team. And then on the right side, we have all the artifacts which are being created as part of the project, right? It can be your project management artifacts, requirements artifact, testing artifacts, design artifacts, a piece of code, source code can also be your artifact. So all these are artifacts, and here what we are trying to see is that all these artifacts, they don't reside on a local machine or on a local hardware. These are stored in a common repository and they are controlled from that repository itself. So as you can see here, all these are stored in a common repository from where people pull, they retrieve it, they update it, and they again store it back into the same repository. Now let's see the benefit of this. So before we go into the actual benefits, let's take some what if scenarios. So for example, we have so many different team members working on a project. Each team members create different set of artifacts, right? So for example, as I already talked about the artifacts that they are created as part of the project. Different people will create different artifacts during the course of the project. Now, the artifact gets updated by the same team members or different team members during the course of the project, right? So for example, if I have created an artifact, I might be going forward and updating it, or someone else might be updating it. That's a very common scenario. So can we have the artifact stored on people's local machine wherein so many other team members depend on that artifact? They want to have the latest and the greatest version of that artifact. Definitely the answer is no. You cannot store all these artifacts, whether it's a document, whether it's a source code, that has to be saved in a common place, in a common repository. The reasons are very obvious. So what if someone stores an artifact on their local machine and if that laptop gets stolen or their hard drive crashes? What if you want to have the latest version of the document and you don't want to kind of um, keep hunting for the latest and the greatest version of the document? That means who has the latest version, right? So it should be pretty easy and pretty intuitive from where to get the latest and the greatest version of the document, right? You also don't want to lose any audit trail. You want an audit trail, who did what, when, and compare the changes as well, right? You also need to have a mechanism wherein you can maintain all the version of the document. So what if you want to go back and retrieve, let's say, version 1.1, right? And last but not the least, there might be a case where somebody deliberately delete or uh, you know destroys an artifact. So again, you don't want that mechanism wherein your documents are stored in that unsafe environment. So to counter all of these, we have this version controlling process wherein all these artifacts are safely stored in a common repository from where people can check in and check out, right? So I'll explain in a bit what exactly I mean by check in and check out, but in a nutshell, all artifacts are stored in a common tool, and people use that tool to either view, update any of these artifacts. So as we talked about some of the benefits of the version controlling, is it prevents unauthorized and any person deliberately destroying any of these artifacts. It also helps us to maintain the revisions of all the artifacts. So here we are talking from the requirements perspective, but it can be used across any artifacts. It also facilitates a retrieval and reconstruction of any previous versions of the documents. For example, if I have created 10 versions, if I want to go back on the first one, I can always go back and pull that version and compare the changes. Right? So the next one is related, that it lets us manage all the artifacts in a very safe environment, and that's part of our release strategy. So when we release a product, release a new version of the software, we want to make sure that all the previous versions are maintained and stored somewhere. The next one is also very important, that it prevents simultaneous updates of documents, right? So imagine that two individuals are trying to update the same document at the same time. You don't want that to happen, because one may lose changes to the other person, right? So you don't want those things to happen when so many people are using the same artifact to either update, view, any of those. And then the last one is also important, that it creates a very strong audit trail. So no matter how many updates happen, I can always go back and see who did what, when, all the changes that person did, along with the date and timestamp. So everything can be maintained as part of the audit trail. So here we'll talk about the check-in and check-out process. So let's say that we have 4 members on a team. We have Michelle, David, we have Bob, and Kent on the team. And all of these 4 team members are using the version 1.0. So let's say that's a requirements artifact, and all 4 of them are using this document either to view it or to update it. Now, if we don't have this whole version controlling process, it's going to be a nightmare. Because let's say that if Michelle updates a document, she has to make sure that David, Bob, and Kent, they have the latest version of the document. Either she has to send an email with the attachment, or has to, make sure that everybody knows that she has updated it, so that nobody takes the previous version and starts using, because that previous version is out of sync now. So obviously this process is not the best one, especially when you have like 10-15 members on a team. You don't want to have these documents floating around in emails and confusing people which one is the latest and the greatest version, right? So the best way is to maintain all these artifacts in a repository. Think about repository like a tool where all these documents will be stored in a very controlled environment. So take the same scenario and Michelle has to update a document. So the way it would work is Michelle has to go into this repository and first she has to check out the document version 1.0. That's in this version controlling tool. So she checks out this document version 1.0. She makes an update to it, which will be now version 2.0, and she has to check back in the document so that version 2.0 is now in that repository. So now version 2.0 is the latest and the greatest, and version 1.0 is still there, but it's not the latest version anymore, right? So all the team members, David, Kent, and Bob, now they get to see the latest version, which is version 2.0, without even asking Michelle. And while Michelle has checked out this document 1.0, David, Kent, and Bob cannot make any updates to version 1.0 because that document has been checked out by Michelle. A lot of tools, they will not allow this to happen. They will also show, the tool will also show some sort of icon or indicator indicating that this document or this artifact has been checked out by someone. During that time, they can always download a copy of it if they want to see the current version, which is version 1.0. But that will clearly indicate that this document is being updated by somebody. So you may want to hold on to it, or you may want to contact that person if you need that document right away, right? But most of the times, these kind of tools will give you indicator that this document or this artifact has been checked out by who, when, and that person can always wait, or if they are in some sort of urgency, they can contact that person to see what's being updated, right? So that's pretty much at a very high level how the check-in and check-out process works, and it's similar to the way we do the check-in and check-out at the library. To read the book, we need to check out, right? So when we check out the book, nobody else can read that instance of the book because it's checked out by me. So I come home, I read the book, and then I take it back and I check back in. So once I check back in, then only other folks can read the book, right? So that's the same concept here we are using. Some of the tools we can look into is the Subversion SVN, which is owned by Apache Software. It's free. It's an open source tool. You can download it and try it out. Then we have the Clear Case, which is from IBM Rational. It's a paid tool. We have the Git. Again, that's a free tool. And then we have PVCS, which is from Serena. That's again a paid tool. So these are like popular version controlling tools. And you can try the Subversion SVN because that's pretty much open source. You can play around with that tool. You don't even need to install a different environment. You can just download it and do the check-in and check out and see for yourself how it works. So that's all for now, and thanks for watching this video. For all your training needs, if you have any questions, concerns, please call us on 703-200-9921. Our email ID is info@skillcubator.com and the website is www.skillcubator.com. Thanks and see you later. Bye.